Today, I want to take you through some rare footage buried in the Epstein files and an absolutely insane conspiracy gaining traction on the internet. Let's get right into it. Now, as you may be aware, we have been thoroughly combing through the recently released 3 million pages of the Epstein files.
A new wave of controversy is erupting across the internet, and it's spreading at a speed that almost feels impossible to control. What started as a few scattered posts online has now turned into one of the most talked about debates across social media platforms, discussion forums.
I want to show you some of the videos we have found that caught our attention, like this one of what appears to be an older man in a blue sweater and 3 other people, one of them redacted, watching presumably a woman dancing. Now, these 2 people have been redacted by the DOJ to protect their identity. We've replaced the music for copyright purposes, but other than that, this video is unchanged. Take a look. Now, we've played a couple of clips in the past videos from an interview Steve Bannon did with Jeffrey Epstein sometime in 2019, but we took the time to go through the nearly 2-hour interview and pull the footage that you may have never seen before. Remember, this is a video that was allegedly intended to help rehabilitate Jeffrey Epstein's image. In one question, Bannon asks Epstein about Wall Street. Roll the clip.
First got on the trading desk at Bear Stearns in the late 70s or mid 70s. Were you shocked by how little actual understanding of mathematics that the traders comprehended?
Yeah, well, again, we had a Texas Instrument calculator. Most stockbrokers, especially before 1975, if they were good stockbrokers, could add. That's about it. They could multiply. If you could multiply, you were already in the top 15% of stockbrokers. Stockbrokers simply meant there's a story. When I went to the first person, I had no money. And I said, how much money do you make a year? And he said, $400,000. I said, impossible. I'm making $10,000.
That's probably more than your family had made in its entire existence.
Yes. And he makes it in a year. I said, what do you do? And he said, it's too complicated for you to understand. He had a brother-in-law, in fact, in this case, who ran the pension fund at General Motors. His brother-in-law would call him and say, buy 1,000 IBM. He'd hang up the phone, he'd write it out on a ticket and walk it to a window. That was his entire skill set. Hello, write what my brother-in-law says, walk it to a ticket window.
Now, here is where he applies his thinking about Wall Street to world leaders.
You find most leaders financially illiterate, economically illiterate.
Most political leaders don't come out of a background of finance. Most political leaders come out of a background of being popular. So in some of the countries, in some of the African countries, for example, they might have been a military person. They were a general. Or in our country, they would have been an actor. The knowledge of money they don't have expertise. They have no degrees in finance. And this is one of the major problems. So many world leaders who don't really have a financial underpinning make fundamental errors when it comes to money on a country or institutional level. Many of them were just good at what they did in terms of politics. Remember, world leaders are politicians in general. They're not scientists, they're not intellectuals, they're not great thinkers, they're great politicians.
Now, for some context, Jeffrey Epstein was imprisoned in 2008 after pleading guilty to state charges of soliciting prostitution and soliciting a minor for prostitution. Here is his account of what it was like.
Solitary confinement, September 14th. And again, some of the public stories about the wonderful time I had in jail and my work release, which didn't come till months after. I'd been there since June, in an 8x10 cell with a bed in the back, a 6-foot bed in the back, a chrome sink with a toilet attached to it, and a little piece of metal sticking out that was supposed to act as a table. So in jail, I was in a place that was called the Special Housing Unit.
And video channels. The reason for that explosion of attention comes down to one thing: rumors. That alleged footage connected to secret files has suddenly surfaced online, and people are trying to understand what it might actually show. The story didn't begin with an official announcement or a confirmed investigation. Instead, it began the way many viral controversies begin today, with vague claims that something shocking had been discovered. According to posts circulating across multiple platforms, video clips supposedly connected to files from a long-running scandal were uploaded and began spreading rapidly. Within minutes, the internet reacted. Users started sharing screenshots, reposting clips, and discussing what they believed the footage might contain. Some claimed the material showed well-known figures appearing in places that immediately raised questions. Others insisted the entire situation was being misunderstood or exaggerated by people rushing to conclusions. But the moment the story began trending, millions of viewers started asking the same question. What exactly is in this alleged footage? That question has become the center of the entire controversy. Because despite the
unit, which is for the roughest, toughest, meanest people. They had put me there, they said, for my own protection. So I was in a 8x10 cell with a little slit in the door where they would serve my food on a tray about 9 inches by 4 inches. And then as soon as I finished eating, they would take the tray and close it down. And one of the guards said, "Do you understand there's Wall Street's crashing?" "Sorry, Wall Street's crashing? What's happened?" And he said, "There's some crisis and some companies are going bankrupt." Yeah, it's all over the papers. We're all terrified we're going to lose our life savings because we have either a 401k or our pension funds. We don't know anything about money. Mr. Epstein, can you tell us, like, what's going on? Am I going to be able to afford my children's education? Am I going to be bankrupt like this company called Lehman Brothers? And there's another company in the front page today called Bear Stearns. "Oh no," I said.
Now this next part, pertaining to what life was like in prison, is very interesting. Roll the clip.
At the beginning, what were the comments?
It serves you fucking rich guys right that you're here next to me.
There was nothing about your crimes.
No.
So all this rumor you hear all the time about people in prison that commit the type of crimes you commit, you're saying in your personal thing is not true.
No.
It was all because you were rich.
Yes.
And it was all because they wanted to borrow money.
Or get advice. Yes.
Where they get advice to go long.
Yes,
You're telling me
is this time to buy?
You're telling me in solitary confinement they're interested in going long.
Yeah. They want to know
What does that say about human nature?
Well, what I think that people find, one of the reasons they wanted to keep me in solitary confinement was they're afraid that everybody would want to know which stocks to buy.
I want to take a break from that right now to show you some more rapid-fire clips from the files, like this one, where Epstein is seen chasing around 2 girls in the kitchen. You may have seen it before, but take a look. And this one of a redacted individual in what appears to be a bikini modeling. Now earlier I mentioned some conspiracies and I want to talk to you about what the internet has been cooking up, and this one is insane. I need to address something that's been blowing up online since these files started dropping, because every time these documents like this get released, the internet does what the internet does. So there's a claim circulating right now that the Epstein files reveal Ellen DeGeneres as, and I'm quoting this directly from the posts, Hollywood's most prolific cannibal, that she consumed human flesh. People are sharing distorted images of her face, writing paragraphs about underground dystopias, calling her a vampire. Now these are completely unfounded claims with no evidence to back them up. So let's take a look at what's actually in the files. Ellen DeGeneres is named in the Epstein documents, and that part is real. Her name appears in the broader index of over 300 high-profile individuals that show up across the investigative materials. You know, flight logs, communications, third-party interviews, peripheral records. But here's the thing that people either don't understand or choose to ignore. Being referenced
a massive amount of discussion surrounding the clips, very little verified information has emerged about their authenticity or context. Some posts claim the videos are part of previously unseen material connected to a major investigation that captured global attention years ago. Other observers believe the clips might be unrelated footage that has been misidentified or manipulated as it spreads through the internet. And that uncertainty has turned the situation into a perfect storm of speculation. Commentators across video platforms have begun analyzing every frame of the alleged footage that appears online. Some believe the clips raise serious questions about who might have been present at certain locations connected to the scandal. Others argue that the internet has already begun constructing dramatic narratives based on incomplete information. Both sides are convinced their interpretation is correct. But the truth remains unclear. What makes the situation even more explosive is the involvement of a high-profile television personality whose name has suddenly been dragged into the conversation. As soon as the alleged
A bizarre and disturbing claim is gaining traction online, suggesting that the Epstein files expose Ellen DeGeneres as Hollywood's, quote, most prolific cannibal. The claim began circulating on X, formerly Twitter, after the U.S. Justice Department announced it had released all available files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Those files reference hundreds of names across investigative materials, and almost immediately, conspiracy posts began to explode. One viral post claimed, quote, the Epstein files expose Ellen DeGeneres as Hollywood's most prolific cannibal. She ate children's flesh. Another post declared, quote, Epstein files name Ellen DeGeneres the most prolific cannibal. Vampires are real. The keyword Ellen DeGeneres cannibal quickly began trending. More posts followed. One user wrote, quote, thanks to the Epstein files, we now know that Ellen DeGeneres is the most prolific cannibal. Hollywood staying silent. Now we understand why she left the United States. Another described a supposed disturbing discovery and claimed she was given a title no one wanted to know existed. Some posts even shared edited or distorted images of DeGeneres to amplify the shock value. But here's what's critical. There is no evidence in the Epstein files that supports any claim of cannibalism. A community note added to one of the viral posts states clearly, quote, there is no evidence DeGeneres engaged in cannibalism. It is true that DeGeneres' name reportedly appears among more than 300 high-profile individuals referenced in the broader Epstein document index. However, appearance in investigative materials does not equal wrongdoing. Many names included in the files appear in third-party communications, interviews, flight logs, or peripheral documentation without any allegations of criminal conduct. Other well-known figures referenced in the broader index reportedly include Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, James Comey, and Oprah Winfrey, among many others. Being mentioned in records does not imply criminal activity. And as of now, there is absolutely no credible evidence supporting the viral claim that Ellen DeGeneres engaged in cannibalism. The question then isn't what the files reveal, it's why such extreme claims spread so quickly in the first place.
footage began circulating. People began debating whether it truly showed the individual being discussed or whether viewers were misinterpreting what they were seeing. This kind of confusion happens often when viral clips spread across social media. Short video segments can easily be taken out of context. A person appearing in a crowded environment might be identified incorrectly. A recording from one event might be mistaken for something entirely different. But when the individual involved is a globally recognizable celebrity, even a small piece of unclear footage can ignite massive reactions. And that's exactly what has happened here. Millions of people are now examining the clips frame by frame, trying to determine whether the rumors have any basis in reality. Some believe the alleged footage represents a major revelation that could reopen conversations about a scandal that has never fully disappeared from public memory. Others warn that the situation may simply reflect how quickly misinformation spreads when people are eager for dramatic stories. the debate has become
in his reportedly 7-hour deposition that despite being Epstein's accountant, working with this guy for years, serving as the co-executor of his estate. I mean, ABC News reported that Epstein was going to pay this guy $25 million, that Khan said, quote, he was not aware of the nature or extent of Epstein's abuse of so many women until after Epstein's death. Apparently told the committee in his opening statement, had I learned of any of his horrific behavior, I would have quit work immediately. We tracked the expenditures as meticulously as possible, including gifts by Epstein to women and men. The gifts represent a very small fraction of Epstein's spending. I did not see them as red flags for abuse or trafficking. And he emphasized he, quote, did not see anything that suggested to me that Epstein was abusing or trafficking women or otherwise acting unlawfully. While Epstein was alive, I never observed any sexual abuse or trafficking of women and never received a complaint either by one of Epstein's victims or anyone else of such abuse or trafficking. But he did admit the following, and I think this is key. However, it pains me to think, and I deeply regret, that I may have unknowingly assisted Epstein in any way. Now, one of the key moments of his testimony, and we don't have the full transcript or the videos of his testimony, at least at the time of this recording, but it comes from what the Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer told the media, told reporters, quote, he confirmed, meaning Khan confirmed, there were 5 clients that paid money to Epstein, and that was Les Wexner, Glenn Dubin, Steve Sinofsky, the Rothschilds, and Leon Black. We've already deposed Wexner, and we're going to be deposing Leon Black very soon. These were people that made significant transactions. So what Khan said is he was under the impression that Epstein made his money as a tax advisor and a financial planner. So these were the 5 people that transferred significant sums of money to Epstein. Now, again, to be clear, just because if they did financial work with him or had financial transactions with him doesn't mean that they participated in any criminality or had any knowledge of any criminality, although I'll circle back to those names in just a minute. By the way, regarding President Donald Trump, who we've talked about a lot, we also know that his name appeared in the Epstein files, most notably in a collection of uncorroborated allegations of sexual abuse. Comer said that Khan, quote, had never seen any type of transaction to Trump or anyone in his family. However, I will tell you, Representative Suha Subramaniam said to reporters that Khan told the committee that the Epstein estate did reach a financial settlement with someone who had made accusations that were related to Donald Trump. Oh, and he also said that it came out former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak had financial dealings with Epstein. Now you go back to Richard Kahn, okay? Back to potential legal liability. I have to go to what Representative Robert Garcia said after Kahn's deposition, quote, Epstein's massive sex trafficking ring would not have been possible without the consistent payments and services of his longtime accountant. He said that Khan made some important admissions. Quote, he helped facilitate a fake marriage between 2 women connected to Epstein, admitted to impersonating Epstein in communication with banks, and confirmed Epstein spoke about Donald Trump a lot. It's not credible that he had no knowledge of Epstein's activities, and his testimony today only raises more questions. So is he suggesting that Khan wasn't telling the truth, that Khan committed perjury, that he engaged in fraud-related crimes, banking crimes? By the way, I should tell you that CBS has reported that Khan and Epstein's lawyer Darren Indyke actually settled a lawsuit regarding fake marriages where you had foreign-born victims of Epstein would marry American-born victims, and this was all for purposes of skirting the immigration system. What about this statement from Representative James Walkinshaw? Today we've heard from Mr. Khan a lot of inability to recall email.
tense. Supporters of the television figure insist the claims are completely baseless. They argue that internet speculation frequently targets famous individuals because their names generate attention and clicks. From that perspective, the viral discussion may be little more than another example of how easily reputations can become entangled in rumors online. Critics, however, believe the alleged footage deserves careful examination. They point out that the larger scandal connected to the files has involved many powerful figures over the years, raising questions about who may have been connected to the controversial network. Because of that history, any new material, real or rumored, instantly attracts global attention. And that attention fuels even more speculation. Some commentators believe the reaction reveals a deeper cultural fascination with stories involving powerful elites and hidden networks. When people hear rumors about secret files, mysterious footage,
text messages he was involved in, if he was ignorant of Mr. Epstein's crimes, he was willfully ignorant. Willfully is a key legal term there. So obviously, his testimony is raising a lot of questions, right? You go back to some of the emails in the Epstein files that reference Khan. When you hear about what the analysis is of his testimony, I just want to read to you some emails. So for example, look at this one. This is an email from Khan to Epstein, November 2017. Bella sent me the latest batch of medical bills for girls. Just wanted to confirm that you do not want to see these and that Bella should pay all medical once girls confirm for accuracy. The response back from Jeffrey Epstein: bleaching is not acceptable. Sorry. Pay it, but it's out of hand. Now, we did a whole episode on Epstein arranging or seemingly arranging for medical appointments and procedures and treatments for the females in his life and the secret network of doctors who were providing him services and access to him. But how about this? You have this communication where Khan is seemingly explaining the purpose of certain wire transfers, including payments sent to a friend for tuition for school. School, right? Anytime you talk about school with Jeffrey Epstein, you always have to think about how young were these females in his life, right? So CNN claims you have this email here that shows he's arranging a $3,500 tuition payment for a model. You look at this one about paying for an Airbnb. Epstein writes to Khan, "How did we send the Airbnb money? Receipt?" Khan seemingly responds, "I signed up to send from my PayPal account, so your name was not involved. They authorized charge, but not yet confirmed from landlord as they have 24 hours. Interesting. Why is there a need to make sure Epstein's name is not there? There could be a number of reasons, but just got to call it out. Also, remember that mention of girls? There seems to be a lot of reference to girls in emails that are connected to Khan. So how about this one? There was an email that was sent to Khan in 2017. "Hi, Rich. I believe Jeffrey bought US Open tickets for the girls, but I have not seen any request for payment." We don't know who these girls are. This back and forth regarding girls and their cable boxes being taken out. Khan is a part of that. You have this exchange regarding lottery tickets where Khan seemingly writes to Epstein in 2016, "Okay, now up to 1.5 MM, maybe mega millions. We'll buy tickets today for girls. Woody too," meaning maybe Woody Allen. "Any others? Please advise. Thanks." This email from Epstein's purported secret girlfriend or associate, Karina Shuliak, who we've talked about on the show before. We dedicated a full episode to her. To Richard Khan, 2016. This seems to be regarding maid services. "Just to clarify, Bianca is doing only the girls' apartments, no laundry, no cleaning supply. The guest apartments are still on tests on Leo. I just spoke with Bella, so she knows already. Thank you." Also, look, it's kind of hard to connect a lot of this or put into context, but I'll just give this to you. So, for example, you have this 2011 email from Epstein to Khan. "Rich, please wire Nadia 10K. I don't know who Nadia is. I don't know the context or the purpose of that payment. But again, whenever you talk about Jeffrey Epstein and females and money, gotta mention it. By the way, with that idea of keeping Epstein's name out of things, just look at this correspondence from March 2019. So this is just months before Epstein would be arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. His lawyer, Darren Indyke, writes, "Please see attached the filed certificate of formation and draft operating agreement for Truth Robot LLC. Thanks." Epstein writes back, "Can't have my name." Indyke writes back, "Will delete and have Rich," so I'm assuming that's Mr. Khan, "sign as treasurer of Southern Financial LLC."
And influential personalities, curiosity spreads rapidly. The possibility that unseen evidence might exist creates a powerful narrative that audiences find difficult to ignore. But there is also a serious risk in that kind of viral storytelling. Without verified sources or confirmed investigations, rumors can easily grow into accusations that may have no factual foundation. Once millions of people begin repeating those claims, separating truth from fiction becomes extremely difficult. Right now, that challenge sits at the center of the controversy. On one side of the conversation are people convinced that the alleged footage reveals something significant about connections between powerful individuals and a scandal that shocked the world. On the other side are observers urging caution, reminding viewers that viral clips can be misleading and that internet investigations rarely replace professional verification. Both perspectives continue clashing across social media. Meanwhile, the story keeps growing. Every hour new posts appear claiming to reveal additional fragments of information. Some users
By the way, I have to mention this too. The BBC reported that Khan at one point, when you're wondering what his role was, had asked Jeffrey Epstein's staff to pack up suitcases with the contents of Epstein's safe from his New York mansion and deliver it to his home. This is according to who appear to be federal agents. And apparently the FBI, there was evidence that they had spoken to Khan's lawyer and that Khan had agreed to turn over the suitcases, but apparently he didn't want agents coming to his home and that he wouldn't reveal who told him to remove this stuff from the safe. So just interesting to think about. And it should also be noted that after Epstein died, Khan and Indyke, they were the ones who were managing the settlements that were paid out from the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund to the victims. So you're talking a payout of over $121 million to more than 135 survivors. Now, that doesn't mean they had knowledge of what Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell were seemingly up to, because this is after the fact, but just want to note what their role was after Epstein's death and after the allegations asserted against him. By the way, Indyke's lawyer, Daniel Weiner, said in a statement to CBS after it was announced that Khan and Indyke were subpoenaed for testimony. By the way, I think Indyke is going to appear for testimony next week. Quote, "It is worth emphasizing that not a single woman has ever accused either Mr. Indyke or Mr. Khan of committing sexual abuse or witnessing sexual abuse, nor claimed at any time that she reported to them any allegation of Mr. Epstein's abuse. Indyke and Khan did not socialize with Mr. Epstein, and they have always rejected as categorically false any suggestion that they knowingly facilitated or assisted Mr. Epstein in his sexual abuse or trafficking of women, or that they were aware of Mr. Epstein's actions while they provided legal and accounting services to Mr. Epstein." But right now I want to go back to those big names that Richard Kahn seemingly called out to the committee. Victoria's Secret CEO Les Wexner, former Apollo Global Management CEO Leon Black, former Microsoft Windows Division President Steven Sinofsky, hedge fund investor Glenn Dubin, the Rothschilds, the big banking family. These are names that we have already heard about a lot so far. So for example, Epstein apparently controlled Wexner's finances, controlled his assets for years as his financial advisor. He was even granted power of attorney at one point, which allowed him to seemingly make all sorts of decisions involving Wexner, his family, his properties, his money. Wexner has claimed that Epstein expertly conned him out of millions of dollars, and that's allegedly how he acquired much of his wealth. Wexner released a 3-page statement ahead of his deposition to that committee saying he was pleased to testify and saying, "I was never a participant nor co-conspirator in any of Epstein's illegal activities. To my enormous embarrassment and regret, I, like many others, was duped by a world-class con man. I cannot undo that part of my personal history, even as I regret ever having met him." And again, his actual testimony in front of the committee brought a lot of interesting moments, but maybe none more memorable than this.
Answer the question. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure we all appreciate the stories. We're just trying to answer the questions they actually wanted the answers to.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
I hope it is. As an example, I didn't have the idea to inventory furniture or valuables. And it's like, how could you have all silverware in your house and what? And I didn't count forks and spoons.
Claim to have found longer versions of the clips. Others insist the material has already been debunked and misinterpreted. The problem is that very few of those claims are supported by clear documentation. As a result, the conversation exists almost entirely in the realm of speculation. And speculation spreads quickly in the digital age. A rumor posted in one corner of the internet can reach millions of screens within minutes. Once that rumor becomes a trending topic, it attracts even more attention from content creators, commentators, and viewers who want to participate in the discussion. The cycle feeds itself. Rumor becomes headline. Headline becomes debate. Debate becomes a full-scale controversy. That pattern has repeated many times in recent years whenever stories involving powerful figures and secretive scandals appear online. The current situation fits that pattern perfectly. An alleged piece of footage emerges. Others believe the story will eventually collapse once clearer information reveals that the footage was misunderstood. But regardless of which outcome becomes reality, the episode highlights something powerful about the modern media environment. In a world where information travels instantly, even a brief piece of alleged footage can ignite a global conversation overnight. Curiosity spreads. Speculation multiplies. And before anyone has time to verify the facts, millions of people are already trying to solve a mystery together. Right now that mystery continues unfolding across the internet. And until the real story behind the alleged footage becomes clear, the controversy will keep growing, driven by curiosity, fueled by speculation, and amplified by the endless search for answers.